Member for Riverina.
Mr Speaker, on the 14th of May, federal budget night, the Treasurer, the member for Rankin, went to that spot, adjusted his red tie, and in his budget he announced the biggest spend for agriculture would be that he would pay farmers to stop farming. He would pay farmers to stop farming. And wouldn't you think that a government which wanted to be there and govern for everybody would at least have something in the budget which would help those people who the member for O'Connor quite correctly thanked? And we should thank our farmers every day, 3 times a day. They grow the food, they grow the fibre that puts food on our table and clothes on our back, and not just us, for many other countries besides. And yet the biggest item, the biggest expenditure item in the federal budget this year was to pay farmers to stop farming, $107 million to Western Australian sheep farmers to stop doing what they're doing. That is a disgrace. And I've got a little bit of advice too for the member for Edmund Arrow. In the next election, under the New South Wales federal boundaries, she is going to take over Goulburn. That's if she wins her seat. And Goulburn, since 1985, they've got one of those big things. Many of our cities and towns across Australia have them. And for Goulburn, it is a merino. It's a big merino. And they are very proud of their sheep production. And so for her to say that the Labor government is bringing the farmers certainty, well, I'll agree with her. She's very right on that. They are bringing to the Western Australian sheep farmers a certain end. And this is just beyond belief, because our farmers are the very best in the world. And what we are also telling the world is that their business is not good enough for Australia. What we're telling the Gulf states is, quite frankly, the insult that we are no longer wanting to trade with them. Just like in June 2011 we told our Indonesian friends, one of the largest importers of our cattle, if not the largest, that we didn't want their business any longer. And Tony Ma, in a recent media release, had this to say. The government's— he is, by the way, the National Farmers Federation Chief Executive Officer, of course. The government's political decision to end live export showed scant regard for its own departmental advice and caused widespread financial damage, family breakups and even suicide amongst those impacted. And we do not want to do that to our WA sheep farmers. We do not want to do that, but Paul Brown, speaking today in this building, said that this will have an effect on the sheep industry. He said this will have an effect on families, on people's mental health. He knows full well the impacts of this sort of thing. He ran a feedlot which didn't do that well, and he said that he was is very affected by it. He was very emotional when he spoke. We heard also from Mark Harvey-Sutton from the Australian Live Exporters Council. He was talking about the 31 May rally in Perth. He said he's never seen anything like it in his life, a rally where the cars and the trucks, the sheep transporting trucks, extended 20 kilometres long. This rally, he said, created solidarity. Every agriculture body supports the Keep the Sheep campaign, and the Keep the Sheep campaign is coming to an electorate near those WA members. And the WA members ought to just heed the warning that the member for Curtin very much listened to when she got up and she spoke in support of the live sheep ban, the legislation, and then voted against it. And why did she vote against it? Because People Power came to an electorate office near her, and People Power will come to an electorate office near those WA members. They want to keep the sheep, and so they should. So they should, because even despite what the member for Fremantle tells us, the animal husbandry, the animal welfare standards on those ships was world's best practice. World's best practice. We are the only country in the world to have that exporter supply chain assurance system in place, so that every one of those sheep were well looked after.
animal husbandry first class, veterinarians on board. We looked after the sheep. It's a pity Labor didn't do the same to our farmers.